Guys, welcome back to the Drone Camps channel. Today we're going to talk about a serious issue that is in the drone industry in the United States, and I'm going to give you some clarity on the DJI situation that is occurring. Now, over the past 6 to 12 months, we've been covering this document by document, thread by thread, and we've been giving you all the information from a fact-based, educated opinion on what's happening currently with the progression of the DJI ban. Now, today I'm going to give you some clarity on why that possible ban is in place, and I'm also here to talk about the wordage that we've been using over the past 12 months in the reporting of this DJI restriction. So first and foremost, got to give a shout out to our friend Vic Moss for making a video and talking about the word ban and using the word ban in our video thumbnails, just talking about what's happening currently with DJI and the restrictions that are being put into place. Now, he had a very clear view of that, and I think that he has the right view of that. And if we look at the definition of the word ban, that means a complete no resell, no use case scenario, and that's not exactly what we are facing. So we shouldn't call it a ban. I do agree with that. And in all of our previous videos, we should go back and rename it DJI restriction, because that's currently what is happening with the company of DJI. It is sort of going down the water slide towards a restriction. And that doesn't mean that we will not be able to fly them anymore. A restriction basically is going to mean that we can't purchase them, import them into the US, the new models, and there may be the retroactive ban going back on previously approved FCC devices from DJI for resell later from resellers or DJI dealers specifically. So where do we go from here? And also, what's happening with the DJI audit? Now, moving on to the December 23rd deadline, that is approaching very fast. I have to give you some educational knowledge about this very subject. I have been in Washington, D.C. I am not one of those people that's just making news reports from my bedroom on this information that I'm finding on the internet. I have had myself in D.C. and have talked to people in the current administration about what is going on. And with that said, it's not saying that I know a lot more about this subject than any other person on the street. I do have a clear vision of what the current administration wants in certain sectors of the Chinese manufacturing and import of Chinese goods. And some of these goods are being investigated under certain conditions. And those are two conditions in the realm of national security. So let's talk about what those conditions are and how they apply to DJI. Now, number one national security problem with DJI, first and foremost, is the supply chain dependency in the U.S. on the company DJI and the products that they make. Now, they control up to 80 to 90% of the world-place market share of drones. And as many of you guys are thinking right now while you're watching this, it probably has a lot to do with money. It has to do with, some people are saying Skydio and Unusual Machines, and how President's son is on the marketing or on the director's board of Unusual Machines. This is true. However, with those political and economic interests aside, we have to look at the big picture around Skydio and Unusual Machines. Now, for the past 100 years in the United States, we have had very strong economic and industrial reliance on our domestic infrastructures. And those domestic infrastructures, like companies like GM, DuPont, and other big industrial corporations, oil companies, they all have huge roles in keeping our economic security in place. Now, when any one company gets too much money in the game, that starts to raise heads in DC and also looking out for a monopoly situation. That's why you see certain companies having to downsize and split up, and we have merger avoidance. So number two in this game is economic leverage. Now, we're seeing that DJI has a very dominating foothold in the United States over the past 10 years, and having such a dominance in the United States marketplace creates a direct economic national security problem. And that national security problem is basically based on it being a foreign company. And in China, any company has to and have available their data accessible to the Chinese government at any given time. and they are required to give up that data to the government when the government requests it. Very similar to the US. So number 2 on this list of why DJI is on the chopping block December 23rd is directly related to economics and the marketplace domination, which leads to a national security risk. And that trickles on down to the average consumer. Now, number 3 in this equation of why DJI will be restricted in the US coming up on December 23rd is the data and intelligence exposure. We talked about that previously in number 2 with the current marketplace domination and China having access to that data, GPS logging, positioning, where you fly from, how high, how fast, how far, and all of that data being logged back to the servers in PRC. Oh, but wait, Justin, DJI just allowed 256-bit encryption and now provides localized data on DJI drones as an option. Yes, we have heard about that. There is still that possible sliver of a security risk somewhere embedded in that equation or using the app from DJI. So is it possible that there still could be a backdoor? We don't know. But number 3 being based on number 1 and number 2, all those things together, that is one of the reasons why this DJI restriction is going to go through on December 23rd. And they feel like they don't have to put the investigation through because the very obvious picture of what this is all about is right in front of your faces. And the bottom line is DJI controls 80 to 90% of the world's drone marketplace. So that in the US government's eyes is a national security risk. And what you need to understand is, what's the difference between this and something like a piece of clothing from Temu or another manufacturer out of China? This is because it has to do with, number 1, drones, and number 2, data and data collection. And that's what it's all about on the internet right now, and domestically and foreign governments all around the world. They are collecting and harvesting data on every citizen on the planet currently. So again, to summarize all of what I've said here so that you get a clear picture of why this is happening to DJI. Number 1 is the supply chain dependency, DJI having 90% of the marketplace share. And number 2, yeah, it's all about the money, because if some certain company gets that much power, it also starts to creep into political influence and then therefore reflects back on national security problems. And that's what the US government calls foreign influence. And number 3 is data and intelligence exposure. So all of those GPS loggings, videos, telemetry, mapping info, and all of that data that could be sent back to PRC and accessed by the Chinese government is the third problem in place. And no matter how many posts that DJI makes on viewpoints on their blogs, or they send out letters to the US government, I don't think that whatever DJI says is going to matter because of the things that we talk about in this video. And unfortunately for me, I really enjoy my DJI drones, and I do not want to see them restricted for future use in the United States. But with the 3 things that we just talked about, it may be unavoidable. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I will be here to bring you the current DJI news in the future and drone news and reviews right here on this channel. Guys, take care. I'm Justin Davis. I'll see you on the next one.